Well, hello everyone. I'm Deb and this is DB Designs and Sewing Australia. Welcome to all my subscribers and welcome to anyone who's new. Now today I'm going to go through the process I use to insert a zip into jeans because I like the zip to be snug and right inside, and I have used many methods, but this is a method I prefer, and it's sort of a half made up my way of doing it. And I'm going to do it in calico today and use all different color threads and a red colored zip so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I've just draped a piece of denim over my ironing board cover so that you can see the calico more clearly. So the first thing I'm going to do, you can see I've got crosses on. This is the wrong side of the calico, and this is my right side of the calico. And I'm going to press on the interfacing for the fly facing. So we're going to call these parts the fly facing, and sometimes that comes as a separate piece that you stitch on, but in this case it's included in it. So I'm just going to press that. Now the interfacing piece comes as a separate piece. Sometimes that will be your fly. So I'm just going to press that on. And I have marked the dot, you can see here, and this is the right side. So I've interfaced the right side, which is going to be the part that folds over and has the top stitching. So we're doing left over right, as in the men's jeans way. Most of my jeans and pants are left-hand side. So now I've got that pressed on. The next thing I'm going to do is, I don't want that fly piece on this side, so I've just drawn a straight line evenly all the way from the top to the bottom to get rid of that excess piece. Now some patterns have you do that, some patterns have you cut it out and trim this part off. So that is our right hand side. So we've got our right hand side, our left hand side, and this is our fly shield. You can see I've marked that so I know which is the right side and which is the wrong side. This is the right side, so I'm going to stitch just this bottom curved edge. Now this piece is shaped, and personally I prefer to only sew the bottom section together. I'll just do that now quickly. So you can see I have sewn this piece, and I'm just going to trim it down a little bit and snip off that corner. Now I'm going to turn it right sides out, just using a point turner to get a really nice sharp point. And I'm just going to press that together. Now the reason I'm doing this part now, when you look through some patterns they don't have you do that part now, but I'm going to overlock this raw edge here. I'm not going to worry about the top edge. I'm just going to overlock that raw edge here, and I'm going to overlock this section of the fly. So from here, where it curves in, all the way around here, and this one that we trimmed off just all the way around here and overlock this. So might as well do all of the overlocking at the same time. Now I just used a 3-thread overlock on all of these neatening pieces. Here they are here. So what we need to remember, this would be the way I would be wearing it. We'll just put this aside till later. Here's our zip. How we would be wearing it. Our zip will go under here. And this part will go over here. So, this is how we want it to look when it's finished. So the zip is completely concealed inside there. So the first thing we're going to do is on the right hand side, we want to stitch our zip in. Now when we're thinking about lengths of zips, here's our dot here. This is where I'm going to be sewing the zip in. I'm making the top edges meet. And you can see when it gets down to the dot that it's only the zipper tape. It's not the zipper teeth, because we need to be able to sew the top stitching curve around there, and so we don't want it to hit the teeth. In plastic zips you can hand wheel over the plastic part of the teeth, but in metal zips it's not a good idea, and you don't want to get your needle in between those teeth, because you may have the issue where your zip might split from the bottom up. Always making sure before you sew any zip in that your zip works perfectly. Nothing worse than sewing it in and then figuring out that you had a dodgy zip. So as I like to do a double pass on my zips, I'm just going to pin this from the back to start with, and then I'm going to turn it over to the front and pin it in. And you can see the zip is face down, and we're sewing the side closest to the edge. Now you don't have to do a double pass on the zip, but I always do. That's why I'm sewing it face down first. So with the zipper foot on my machine, I am going to sew this zip down. I'll show you as soon as that's done. So now I've done the first pass. Detach my clamp from the zipper. So this is what it's going to look like. And we're going to press that and then stitch it down again. Not all patterns have you do that. It's my preferred way. I like both sides of my zips to have a double pass. It's just a secure thing that I have. So now I'm going to stitch down here, and I'll show you that when it's done. So now that side of the zip, which is on our right hand side, our right hand front, is stitched in place. So now we're going to go on to the other zip, other side. Now this is the side that we interfaced. So I'm just pressing that fly extension. So this is the fly extension, this part that looks like a fly. And this is the fly shield. Now I know in some patterns they call it different things, but the shield is the part that shields your body from getting the zip stuck anywhere on your skin. So now we want to overlay these zips. So let's just pin this so we've got it where we want it to be. So that is just making sure that your zip is going to be concealed. Now the zip's over here, so it's got a fair way from here. Don't make it so that it's right on the edge, because as soon as it's under any stress, you will see the zipper teeth, and you don't want to be able to see the zipper teeth. So this is only pinned in place and pinned all the way through. Then we're going to flip it over and we're going to sew on this tape. We only put those pins in so we'd know where to sew it. This does not have to be, this pass on this side of the zip does not have to be really, really close to the teeth. So once I've got that pinned in place, I will then take out the other pins. And we can see, so the idea is, this is pinned on there, and we're only sewing it to the fly facing. We're not sewing it all the way through yet. That will be our top stitching. I'm just going to stitch this one. This is what our fly looks like now. So here it is. That part is still free. And if you find when you're sewing your fly and you cannot get the fly undone when you're halfway through and you need to move, so when you're sewing it up, you might have it to here and you need to move this out of the way. If you have to actually take your needle out of the fabric, you are better off to do a little back stitch, take it completely out of the fabric, move the zip to where you need it to be so that it's out the way, and start again with another little back stitch, rather than taking your needle out, because the higher up you can get your needle, the easier it is going to be to move your zip around. But when you take your needle out of the fabric, you sometimes get a little kink when you start again, or the stitch is longer, or there's something a little bit different or wrong with the stitch, and that is actually going to make a difference to how your fly sits. And you know what? It's usually right here in the middle, right where your jeans fly is under the most amount of stress. So all I can say is, if you need to take your needle out completely, do it. Do a little back stitch, take it out, cut off the threads, move your zipper to where it needs to be, and then start a new seam on the exact seam line. It's easier than trying to fix up anything else that might have happened in the meantime. But we haven't done any top stitching yet. So now we have got our fly extension. And our fly extension goes on the small side of the fly. So it goes on our right hand side of the fly, not on our left hand side. But it just gets attached to the edge of the fly, because what's really going to hold it in place is your bar tacking if you choose to do it, or you can stitch it down here at the bottom part later. So we're just going to stitch that down, and then we'll start on our top stitching. Now we haven't top stitched the very front edge of the fly yet, because I want to change to a different thread. So a lot of times people are using one sewing machine, and if you're using one sewing machine, you sort of want to, just like I overlocked the fly shield at the same time I did the other overlocking, just to group together things that you're doing that are the same. So let's just sew this fly shield on, and then we'll start with the top stitching. So now our fly shield is stitched in place. And so with the fly shield, you can see it is just shielding the zipper from your skin or your body, or stops your undies getting caught in the zip, depending how tight your jeans are. And it makes it very smooth to pull it up because it's covering everything. So when you look on the inside, this is what you see. That's what your fly shield does. Now most pairs of jeans, if they've got a front fly, this is what they will have. A fly shield, because it's actually shielding your body. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to decide where we're going to be doing our top stitching to, because this part of our fly here, so this very edge needs to get top stitched, but I just don't like to top stitch it all the way down. I like to top stitch it to where, remember this is a the zipper template that I made last time I was making jeans, and that comes from the last stitch, and this is the jeans making toolkit. And I do believe the template I used, because there's a few different ones in there. See, this has got all the facings, the shields, pockets, all different styles of pockets in it, coin pockets. Some are a bit more that looks like the pocket for men's jeans. You can really make up your own style of pocket if you wanted to. And you can do all your top stitching or no top stitching. Yes, this is the one I use. I should write that on it, shouldn't I? That it's V1. So I use the, what's it called? Zipper top stitching template version 1. That's the one I use all of the time, and that's why I made a cardboard cutout of it, so it would be much easier. It's very easy to trace around then if you've got a cardboard. And I actually keep it in this pack. That's why I had the pack out, so I always know where it is. So what I want to do is, maybe it's easier to see it this way. Here's my zip here. I want to decide where I'm going to be stitching that to. And this is pretty much spot on to where I want to stitch it to. So you would be using some sort of pencil or chalk or something that comes off easily. In this case I haven't. This is a Bowen pencil. It's actually a really good pencil, but it doesn't come off. But this is just for demonstration purposes. You know that I usually use a coloured chalk that doesn't erase when I'm doing markings on the inside, and when I'm making my fly on the outside I use the disappearing chalk that disappears with the iron. So the first thing I now know that, let's make this nicely pressed. I'm sure this doesn't disappear with the iron, does it? No, it doesn't. I want to top stitch this front section here, but I only want to top stitch it to the end here. So I'm going to pop some different colour thread on. Now that is top stitched down. We haven't top stitched this part yet. So we want to top stitch the fly facing, but we don't want it to catch in the back our fly extension. So as we haven't attached the fly extension at the bottom yet, we can just shift that right out the way. I'm going to pin it out the way. Ow. If I don't stab myself with the pins first. So now, this is pinned out the way. We're going to sew this fly shield, this fly extension down with the top stitching. So I'm going to sew the first row on the line and the second row on the inside of the line. Well, not the best top stitching in the world, but you can get the idea. Our shield is still free. So now what we're going to do is have a look at this leg seam. So with the leg seam, we want to press that leg seam curve. Now I usually use a ham to do it because it's curved. Now the reason I don't have my top stitching machine set up anymore is because I put it all back together and packed it up ready to move. I thought I won't be doing any more top stitching before we move, so I usually use that, and I have a little, I think it's really a quilting gauge, so it keeps it the exact distance apart. So whatever foot you've got that you can use to gauge your top stitching to try and get it as even as possible. Is a great idea. So now we've pressed in both of these seams and we're going to overlap them over each other. So now I've got that pinned in place. I sometimes do double top stitching, sometimes do single top stitching through the crochet. It's not something that you can really see very much of. So let's give that a go. So now that the crutch is sewn up, so I've top stitched that crutch in place. Now we need to think about that fly shield and what we're going to do with that to hold it over where we want it to be. So we will do some bar tacking. And the bar tacking we're going to do, when you're looking at the fly like this, we're going to do some bar tacking here and some bar tacking here. And with the ginger jeans, for instance, you can see the bar tacking is on the outside edge there and the bottom edge, which is what I usually do. I don't do it usually on the inside. I usually do it on the outside here, making sure that you catch the fly shield. So we can see if I do it there and there, it's going to catch it in. So there is our fly finished. So when we're looking at the fly, look how far in it is. So when this is under great duress, imagine that it's stretchy jeans, it's not going to show. And another thing to remember, of course this will have a button on it here. Put that zip pull down. This would have the button. Make sure if you're doing a stud button that you've got plenty interfacing behind it, and make sure you put it over far enough. Ask me how I know. So this would be what the button would be holding over. See, it's a really long way in, much nicer fly. If you're using stretch denim, make sure you stay stitch your pockets and the top. It goes for the yoke as well at the back. So our stay stitching will be from the top down, from this top down, and from the center out, from the center out. Before we put the fly shield, before we put the zip in, before we do anything, we'll stay stitch across the top here, and then in a separate run, stay stitch your pocket here. Don't get to the end here and pivot and go downwards. Make it a separate row of stitching. Don't join it together. Same with this side. Stay stitch, stop, cut the threads, and stay stitch down. Always moving from the top down to the bottom, making sure you're not stretching it as you go. Now this is a piece of stretch denim, and you can see how stretchy this is. This is what I made my Jude jeans out of, and as you can see, it just loves collecting fluff as well. So you can imagine that if this was the top of the pockets and the very top of your jeans, the top part of your yoke where your waistband is going to go. And I also do it on, not on the bottom section of the yoke, but on the top of the yoke and on the top of the back of the pants that join to the yoke, just to make sure it retains its integrity and you do not get any, why don't these match up? Because one piece is stretched and one's not, because you do quite a bit of ironing in jeans making. So that's just a few extra tips. Let's have a look how our jeans would look. So this will be our fly, and as you can see, it's not that hard at all. There's lots of different ways to do it, and you know what? practice. Practice on spare pieces of fabric, whether they're stretch or not stretch. And probably one of the most difficult things to do is that curved crutch join. So if you're worried about that and you haven't made anything that has got a fly in it before, you can always make a denim skirt, because a denim skirt doesn't have the curved fly. You can actually use exactly the same method, except instead of this part being curved, it's not, it's straight down. So it's very easy to join those pieces together. So that's all from me. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. I'm only happy to help you. I don't know how much filming I'm going to get done in the next few weeks, because I'm supposed to be packing. And people keep on coming in and asking me questions instead of staying down in his office where he should be. He's coming in asking me 5 million questions about moving, about packing, and making lists and everything else. But if you actually don't ever put anything in a box, it's never going to get moved. I've got lots of boxes already packed. But that's me. So I know what I'm going to be getting. I'm going to be getting the Snow Queen box from the Dahlia Society shortly. So what am I wearing? A tape measure. It's what I'm always wearing. A gorgeous scarf. This is the all-in easy fit shirt with the camp. Oh no, it's not with the camp collar at all. It's a separate collar. It's with a collar stand. And this is in a black shirting. I'm not sure where I got this from. Not sure if I got it. Might have got it from Tazudi. 2 pockets, very easy wear. Wearing it with a pair of lander pants with a belt, make them stay up so they're not too long, and a pair of slippers. After I move, I'll be able to have my top stitching machine back. Not that I'll be making any more jeans. When I looked in my wardrobe, as in moving, I've got so many jeans. And as where we're moving to doesn't have 1, 2, 3, 4 huge wardrobes like I've got in this house, I have to be putting them in a chest of drawers. Let's see how that goes, because I like to hang everything up. I hang up collar neck jumpers, everything, or lots of it's going to have to go in drawers instead, because I'm going to have to save my space for skirts and dresses and shirts, I think. Yeah, so not as much wardrobe space, being a much older house. It's more than 80 years old. So, yes, lack of wardrobes. I don't think people had lots of clothes. So anyway, that's all from me. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. Please ask any questions if you've got any. Please like and subscribe. I also have a Ko-fi account. I will be back to you with the Snow Queen box, which is the June bespoke box from the Dahlia Society, and it's also the first prize for So Autumn Denim. Now, So Autumn Denim was drawn. Katrina did a fabulous job. I was away in Queensland when all this was happening, and Katrina did a fabulous job. I will put the names of the winners up on the screen now and the prize they won, but won't they be lucky to be getting a bespoke box? That's a fabulous prize. Thank you very much, Kristen. It's very much appreciated. And Weft and Wharf did a wonderful job. That's in fact where I got this denim from too. So I got my red denim from there. I got this blue denim from Weft and Wharf. I got my green denim from May Design in Bright in Victoria, and that was before we even knew we were doing the denim challenge, I'm sure, because it was in February. So I've started knitting. I thought I may not have sewing machines for 10 days. Imagine if I couldn't sew for 10 days. So I've started knitting a vest, and I started 2 days ago, and this is the back. And quite frankly, I don't know if it's going to be too wide or not because I've just made it up. Just cast on 99 stitches and knitted. Made a bit of a band, but I didn't really want much of a band. This is going to be the back, not the front, so I'll just be winging it. But it was just so that I had something else to do in case I couldn't do sewing. I hope that was helpful. Everybody have a great week. I'll be talking to you soon. Bye.